Okay, I think we're recording. Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us both on the Zoom and live streaming in Facebook. So I'm going to do my best to keep up with all this technology, but please shout at me if something is not working or you can't hear. I've got, thankfully, Chris and Lori over there that I'm so grateful for, who are managing the chats, hopefully. If all else fails, send me a little text message or something in Telegram, however you communicate with me, if you're not hearing me or something like that. And obviously, if you're in the Zoom, you're welcome to unmute yourself, ask a question. Hopefully, most of the questions will be answered in the course of it, and I'll stop as we transition from one subject to the next so that I'll see, does anybody have any questions or want any clarity on what we were just talking about? So our goal today is to get you started using the Healy. I know it can seem a little overwhelming at first, but I promise after you do it a few times, it gets super simple and you can do it really, really fast. One guideline I'm going to ask everybody to abide by, you can see it on the screen, right? I feel very passionately about this. Feel the feeling, but don't become the emotion. Witness it, allow it, release it. Before you speak, think. You know, there's so many challenges with Healy because it's brand new. And I want you to think about the iPhone. When the iPhone came out in 2007, which is ironically the same year as the Time Waver, which is the parent device of the Healy. I remember the first iPhones, okay? They drove me crazy. They crashed, things didn't work. They'd come out with an update and all of a sudden your apps wouldn't work. So have a little compassion as well with the Healy as it comes out. I always choose to turn to gratitude that they released it and that we've all gotten to use it and are having so many amazing experiences with it already, rather than them waiting for it to be perfect. Because if they waited till it would be perfect, then so many of us would not have been already being helped. So it's easy to get negative and focus on that. And I think the Go-Giver Leader book, I love the Go-Giver series. It's just so amazing, but says it best when it says, you know, our biggest job as a leader, and we're all leaders in this because Healy is new and we're all blazing this trail of raising the consciousness of the world with this. So our job is to help people hold that vision of what Healy can do, how helpful it is, and to stay focused on the positive, not ignoring the negative. Everyone is working on the troubleshooting issues. Everybody is. So the company, they're all trying to make it better. It's all being acknowledged and worked on. No one's sugarcoating that. But we're just choosing to focus day to day on all the benefits. So enough said on that. Let's get started. Let's dive in. This was posted in one of our Facebook groups, and it's based on a suggestion from one of the Time Waver practitioners. And their recommendation is to start with the gold cycles first when you first get your resonance, okay? This recommendation, now again, this is one Time Waver practitioner's recommendation, but I have heard from many different, from other medical practitioners and Time Waver practitioners, they suggest the same thing, to start with the gold programs. The first 3 days only, they run only these cycles, okay? They say rotate between pure, balance, and being. They say, like a daily vitamin, these are the energy building blocks for all of our cells. In your first 3 days, use these cycles 2 times a day and only put the percentage frequency, strength, that intensity, to no more than 50%. Keep your sessions 3 hours apart to allow the frequency to integrate. To run them 3 hours apart, 2 a day, between pure, balance, and being. After 3 days, then you can start choosing other cycles to add in. They recommend, again, you make sure you drink at least 1.5 liters of water before your session. It says, however, if you are in pain when you first receive your Healy, start with the pure cycle, because that's your detoxifying cycle. Then go straight to a local stimulation program. That's the pain program. Then go straight to a local stimulation program, followed by a release program. Sorry, the release program is technically what they consider the pain in the gold program group. What else? So that is one recommendation. Now, to put this into perspective, a lot of us, when we got our resonances, when we got our devices, we didn't have these guidelines. We just started using them, okay? I kind of liken this, if you look at it from a health coaching perspective, people say if you're going to go on a diet or start a new supplement protocol, they recommend you do a cleanse first, right? Why? Get rid of all the old toxins, right? Prepare the playing field, clean out all that old stuff, prepare yourself to really be able to get the most use from these new foods. I kind of, to me, relate it to this. First, you're doing the pure, right? And if you look at the program descriptions again, they have to be generic because they have to be compliant. So it's unfortunate, but that's the law. So we have to play by the law. But pure, when you do read about the programs, designed perfect starting point for anyone using Healy for their first time, helps your body's energy field to recover from the bioenergetic effects of environmental factors. And I've heard a lot of people refer to it as like the detox program, basically. And then balance, and then being. So what balance is for the body, being is for our soul. Basically bringing, refers to the bioenergetic balancing of the body's energy field. And then being is that for the soul. So, or your more emotional, spiritual nature, however you want to refer to it. So, anyway, so yes, that is the recommendation. It's a great recommendation. I think if you can do it, if you haven't started, go for it. It's a great intro to this, really help prepare your body for the more in-depth work. Obviously, this is a recommendation. You trust your own intuition. So we're going to get started with the Healy. So we're going to start with the Blue app, the Heal Advisor Analyze app. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that the first thing that's super important to do is to turn on the Healy. It is really important to turn on the Healy by pressing the power button before you turn on the app. Now, I want to make sure for people who are listening to this call, if you're kind of new to Healy, you know, this is not going to be really an overview of what Healy does. I think the majority of people on this call understand, you know, what Healy is. It's an energy frequency device. It is incredible, nothing else like it. And we're going to actually go through the details of what it can do that other things can't do. So you're still going to learn a ton, but it's not going to be like the history of the Healy. I do have a talk on that that we can put into the comments. That's like an intro to Healy, that's more theory, like how it was developed, the overview of what it does, all of that good stuff. That's another talk. This is more of the hardcore details of like how to use it. But when you see how it's used, you're going to probably be pretty wowed if you don't have one, because it's truly amazing. So we're going to go into the details. So boom, turn on your Healy. You're going to press that middle button and you're going to see that the green light is going to start flashing. I'm not sure if you can see that on this screen or not, but the green light's going to start flashing, and then you're going to open the Blue Dot app, the Heal Advisor Analyze app. So you're going to hear us talking tonight about, we're going to use those two terms, and the reason, okay, think about that. The reason is that it's very confusing for people to remember the names of the app. The Heal Advisor Analyze app, as you can see on that screen, I think you guys can see my mouse, perfect. This is the Heal Advisor Analyze app. We call it the Blue Dot app, or the Blue app, because there's a blue dot, much easier. The other one, the pink one, we call the Pink Dot app. It's the Healy app. It's what runs the microcurrent programs. So it's pretty simple. You just go in, you run a program. This blue one has lots of functionality. So we're going to do a little walkthrough of how quick this can be. So we're going to show you now, if I would keep my mouth shut, how quickly you could do a scan, so that you know next time when you're ready, how you can just go boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Turn on the Healy. Press the start button in the middle. Open your Blue app. Press next. I'm going to go in, hit the bottom button to do a scan. I'm going to choose resonance analysis. I'm going to choose myself. I'm going to choose all Healy programs. This is what I do first thing in the morning. Start analysis. With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? Comes back up. I say, ooh, 55% for the learning program, 51 for the gold. I like to, oh, pain and psyche, 48, job, 45, deep cycle, 41. Okay, I'm going to go in and rescan for the Healy learning programs. So I'm going to go back. I'm doing this fast because this is how fast you can do it once you have done it a few times. With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? I rescan from the learning programs and it's telling me concentration systemic, 73%. Okay, memory, 53. Interesting. I'm going to choose the concentration, but actually I'm going to go in and I'm going to say vibrate, and I'm going to vibrate this to me for 37 seconds. And I would pause for 37 seconds and I would feel these vibrations. So I'll add that on. I'm going to press stop to show you the next thing. Then I would go in and I would open the pink app and run that program. But because I'm me, I would probably rescan and choose the second one. I can't even read my own notes. Goodness. I'm going to go back to the list and see what it said. I'm going to go back to the list, choose all Healy, and remind myself, oh, gold. That's what that said. So I'm going to rescan, choose myself, choose gold, start analysis. With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? Energy. Makes sense. It's almost midnight. Balance, 57. Wow, a lot of these are high. Pure. So I'm going to vibrate that for 37 seconds. And normally I would just be quiet. If I can't be quiet because I'm with my family or whatever, I just let it run. Obviously, I know I'm going to get more benefit if I can focus, but I'm still getting benefit if I can't. And then I would press stop, or I'd let it finish. Close this app. Open the pink app. Press next. Find the concentration program. I like to just scroll through here until I see learning. There it is. Concentration systemic. There it is. Press it. 57 minutes. Press start. Boom. I let it transmit. I put on my electrodes. I connect them, plug it in. I'm off and running. That's it. Now I have vibrated and I have, I'm about to run this hour-long program while I go about my day. And that's what I would do first thing in the morning. If I have time, I would, well, hold on a second. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Okay. This can be very fast. It can. Add maybe a minute in there for the 30-second scans that I didn't complete. So we're under 5 minutes to do all of that. If I had time, I would go and do that aura analysis. We'll do that super fast. So I'm just going to show you though, when it finishes, boom, there's my program. I would increase it to about 30%. And I would see if they turn white. I don't know where my cords are because I had, okay. So if I had put them on, I would be making sure that it's white. This is the super quick walkthrough to remind you of what to check. I would clip it on and I would go about my day. And so I'm going to make sure these are tight. I'm going to see that that line is going to change from a black to a white. And that's it right there. It's going to turn to white as soon as I connect my cords. And if not, it's going to remind me, oops, drink some more water. And so I will do that and make sure they're white. And then do not stress about if they go back and forth to black and white. It's more important to not stress about it. This is what I've heard them say. I think I heard Marcus say that. Marcus or Muni, Michael Dance. So just put it down, go about your business versus staring at it, worrying the whole time. Boom, off and running. So I would do that and go about my day. You can put these in your sleeves and continue on. Now, when it was done, because I've been using the Healy a while, I would give it a few hours. If I was sitting down doing some work, I might choose to go ahead and run that second program, right? Whatever that energy, the second one from the gold, I would go ahead and run that. I have been known to run 3 in a row. Personal preference, you know, you're still going to feel plenty of goodness, plenty of shifts from just running the one program, and then running, if you can run another program later in the day, wonderful. More is not always better. So, all right, I'm going to close this app, and I'm going to show you how quickly we can do an aura analysis scan. So, get started, open the blue app, choose next. I'm going to go to the middle, choose aura analysis, find my name, record my aura. While I was focused, then I don't look at the interpretation every time because I know what each of the chakras are at this point and what it means when they're low. So I just press analysis, and I can see right here, my heart has gone up. Look at that after I did the previous vibrations. And it's kind of interesting, right? After we were walking out, people were saying thank you, and I felt good. And so how interesting now that my heart chakra has increased so much. So I would see this, I would say start analysis, start analysis. My aura is strong and stable. 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 There they are. I would read through these very quickly. I'm not going to let you read my diary right now. I would read through them, and then I would say vibrate. And again, I typically choose the 2-minute 49 seconds. I'll try to do some deep breaths with this if I can. I've already spent the time to read through. I'm going to stop that share. I already spent the time to read through these, so I'm aware of them, and then I'll go about my day, or if I can, I will try and reflect on those topics that have come up. Look at there, 1 minute, 39 seconds. All right, there is your summary. So with regard to drinking water, it's very important not only for the conductivity in the pink app, but for both apps. It's really important to be hydrated to basically flush out any toxins that the Healy is going to help your body release. Many of you may have heard of a Herxheimer reaction, which is what happens if you detox too fast from many other, supplements or oils, etc., that you might be using, and that reaction applies here too. So the Healy obviously is helping your body flush out toxins. You've got to have lots of water to let that leave your body, and if you don't, you could end up, what is a Herxheimer? You end up with flu-like symptoms basically, and then if that happens, you just have to keep drinking lots of water, and they will come out. But to avoid that, it is best to start slow. Run one program, see how you feel. It's really hard to know because each person is so different, how they're going to react. What is your toxic load? You may or may not be aware of it. So start slow, try a program, see how you feel. If you're the least bit concerned, run it for less time. See how you feel, try another one the next day, etc. There's no hurry. You can build up. You want to make sure that your body has time to integrate the new energy. So we're going to start with that, and I'm going to click on that app, and it's going to open this up. It starts with your disclaimer, and obviously they have to have the medical disclaimer. This is not a promise of cures, etc. And we're going to say next, and then we're going to see here the two options, clients and lists, and then we have the options at the bottom. So from here, I'm going to take you through as if you were starting from scratch and you just got your Healy and you're entering yourself as a client. So we're going to go into clients, and we're going to add a new client. Once this client is in there, if we go back, then they will be in the list of clients. And you can see here, list. This list is actually a list of all the previous scans that have been done. So that's really cool. You can open one up and you can actually revibrate straight from there. But let's do it from the beginning. So we're going to go in and we're going to create a new client. Everybody is a client. Yourself is the client, it's just the terminology they use. So you're going to click on the top right here, add new client at the very top. And this is really cool. You get to choose what you want to scan. You can do plants, animals, organizations, buildings. It's really amazing because everything is energy, right? Everything has an energetic frequency. So we're going to say add new client and we're going to choose individual. And then it's going to come up and we're going to be able to enter information. Now, I'm going to enter my information, but I'm going to actually say Jennifer because I'm going to distinguish it from the other clients in there. Boggs. And then I'm going to choose that I'm a female. Now, do you have to enter all this information? We are about to choose record vibration up at the top. When we record the vibration, what we're basically doing is we're taking your energetic, your digital signature, right? It's kind of like taking your phone number, your energetic phone number in the world. And so that's really how it's finding us. If we're here holding the Healy, then you can put in your first name, your last name, and your male, female. And the reason you choose male and female is because there are programs like menopause that just doesn't apply, right, if you're a male. So that's really the main reason we're putting that in, is for those sorts of programs when it's deciding, you know, prostate. Okay, well, females, we don't have that. So that's why that is there. But as far as the other information, if you are doing a remote analysis, and we're going to show you how to do that, then you want to put in as much information as possible because it just helps locate this person in the information field. So obviously the more the better, but if you're sitting right here holding the Healy, it's pretty easy to find you because you're holding it. So we're going to put that, and then I'm going to press record vibration. Now, when you press record vibration, now I also want you to remember these steps are written down one after another in the usage guide, one by one. But I understand, take notes. If that's the way your brain works, do it, because that's how I remember things too, is to take notes. But if you think I'm moving a little fast, I just want you to know it is on the document and you can go step by step to follow it. If at the bottom you go into the settings right here, annotate, there it is. This is where for this, we didn't do the settings for the blue app. You can switch your language to be something different. You can look at your cloud settings. That's your user ID and password that's being used to log in. You're going to use your same username, your same email and password to log in to your account as you use with Healy. You can see info, which shows you your which app version you have. Connect to Healy is what, ooh, I shouldn't have done that, but if that is how you would connect to a different Healy device, but it's going to now start looking, so I'm going to have to pause and wait for it to scan any available Healys around, and it finds it by the serial number, which you can see if you have a magnifying glass at the very bottom, but it found it. And then Healy website would take you to the website, contact information, and again, the Healy manual right here if you wanted the manual for this app, because each app has its own manual. So we're going to record someone's vibration, and then we're going to do an analysis, and that's the whole point of this app, right? I should have said that from the beginning. What's the point? The point of this app is to really analyze your bioenergetic field and see what frequencies, what programs are a match, so that then, we can deliver those frequencies and help bring you into resonance. So right now, we're just setting ourselves up so that we can do these analysis scans. Okay, so I'm going to press record vibration. We're going to press the plus, and it gives you instructions. Please hold the Healy in your right hand. It does not matter if it's your right hand. That's not me saying it. That's Marcus. Or Michael, I'm sorry. It's just they have to tell you something. Hold it in your right hand, hold it in your left hand, just hold it. If this is a remote analysis, and that is kind of mind-boggling for people, right? But this is energy, and for those of you in this field, you know you can send energy, you can do remote Reiki. Energy is everywhere, so you don't have to be sitting right in front of somebody to feel someone's energy. So if you were going to enter a client that wasn't here, if they were on Zoom like this, you could hold this up to the camera and they could put their hand up to the camera and set their intention that they are having their vibration be recorded. And I am going to set my intention. This is recording Sarah's energetic field. This is recording Sarah's vibration. As long as both people are doing that, it will record their vibration. I have done this before with a picture of someone, a friend of mine who asked me, she might even be on this call, hey Jen, I have a terrible headache. Can you remote scan me? My Healy hasn't come in yet. And so I took it, I had her picture from Facebook. I held this up to her picture and set the intention for this to record her vibration. And oh my gosh, it's amazing what came up. And we vibrated the frequencies and she said, Jen, I could feel them. I could feel them in my body. And in 15 minutes, her headache was gone. So it is, I mean, when this call is not about testimonials, we could be here all night, but it is amazing. So I'm going to press record vibration. So down at the bottom, you can see right here, this plus. I'm going to press that plus, and I'm going to hold the Healy. And it just recorded my vibration. And it comes back to that screen. And always remember up at the top to use this plus. You see this plus, or excuse me, check mark. That check mark, if you don't press it, it will not save, okay? That trips a lot of people up. So press the check mark. And now it's going to ask you, this client has been stored. Should this client be synchronized to the cloud? A declaration of consent of the client must be available. Now, obviously, if you're using this in practice, you would want to have whatever declaration of consent you need for private use. Obviously, I'm not going to have a consent form, but that's up to each individual. They have to write this, obviously. And do you want it synchronized? So there is a concept with this Blue app called the master key. And I know we all want to be done with the master key because it's confusing. But a master key is what keeps our client data safe and secure. So it's really important. And it's on your device, and it's what lets you access your information. And it's what happens if you run over your cell phone and you're like, oh no, all my client data. Guess what? As long as you've been synchronizing, all that client data is still protected in the cloud. There's a whole section on their website about their crazy, insane amounts of security. You can read it if you want to. I don't have that memorized. But you can also choose not to save that client. Just be aware if you don't do that, then you're not going to obviously be able to go back and send them a PDF or send them vibrations later, etc. So obviously I'm going to choose yes. And then it says the client has been stored. Do you want to perform a new analysis now? And so I'm going to say yes. Okay, so now it brings me to this screen, and I get to choose if I want to do a resonance analysis or an aura analysis. Now, just so you know, you can get back to that screen at any time. Can I clear this? There we go. By clicking on this heartbeat. This heartbeat down at the bottom is what takes you to that same screen, resonance analysis and aura analysis. These are the two functionalities of the Blue Dot app. Resonance analysis, I consider kind of more the physical. We're going to scan, and we're going to do that right now and see what your body has the most resonance with, which programs. Aura analysis is more like your spiritual, emotional side, and it is so cool. We're going to do a chakra analysis and be able to see exactly what issues you have going on in each chakra. It is amazing. And then we can actually send ourselves the vibrations to help bring that into balance. So for now, we're going to choose the top one, the resonance analysis. So I'm going to press that. And now it's going to say the focus. It's really important to set this focus. With what do I have the greatest resonance now? Now, if you don't like those terms, you can change it. You can say, with what do I have the most resonance now? This is a guideline. And what's really cool about when you scan, this is all about your intention and your focus. So you could ask, actually, I'm going to ask it right now. Instead of it just being generic, I'm going to say, with what do I have the greatest resonance now for my back pain? You could say, with what do I have the greatest resonance now for my energy level? I actually did that about an hour before the call and said, with what do I have the greatest resonance now for energy and focus for tonight's call? You know the number one thing that came back? Gold cycle. When I rescanned, energy. It's like, oh my gosh. So I'll tell you more about that in a second because I didn't choose the energy one, and I'll tell you why. So we're going to now choose continue with database selection. Now we get to see a list of all the databases that Healy has access to. The ones at the top are incredible. Highly recommend that you have fun exploring and choose one of these. The number beside it are the number of programs within that program group. We're going to scroll down, and I'm trying to do it on the phone, on the laptop. When you scroll down, you see how you get to Healy Gold. Now this is where it lists each of the different program groups within Healy. Gold, pain, psyche, learning, fitness, job, sleep, etc. Now if you have the resonance model, then obviously you have all of these program groups. But for people who, well, that's not going to apply for this app. If you have this app, you purchase the resonance, go you, and you're going to see all of these programs. At the bottom, you'll see all Healy programs. So typically when you start, when you do your first scan, that's what you're going to choose. At the bottom, you're going to choose all Healy programs. And it returns you to this screen. And now we're going to say start analysis. Now we're going to place our finger on the screen while we're holding the Healy. Now, important to recognize, we are not taking a fingerprint, okay? We are not taking a fingerprint. Use your elbow if you want. I've done it, it works, okay? It doesn't matter. The point is, it's about your focus. They want you to be 100% focused. This is literally taking a snapshot of your information field. What is information field? There's so many different terms. You could call it your auric field, your akashic field, your energetic field. They call it your information field, but it has access to all different levels of consciousness. That stuff is beyond me. There's an amazing talk by the developer, Marcus Schmicky, that you should definitely watch because it goes into all these levels of consciousness. Wow, blows your mind. But this is what has access to that. So I'm going to put my finger on the screen. Now, if you were using this remotely, one of two ways. If there was someone on Zoom or FaceTime that you were having a call with, you can put this up to the screen and ask the person to put their finger up to their camera. Obviously, there has to be pressure there. So what I choose to do is to use my opposite hand than I normally would, so that I'm kind of further separating there's always quantum entanglement. We know this. We want to disentangle as much as possible. So I am going to use a different hand, and while the person is saying, with what do I have the greatest resonance, I'm going to be saying in my head over and over and over, with what does Sarah have the greatest resonance? With what does Sarah have the greatest resonance? With what does Sarah have the greatest resonance? Because I want to make sure this is scanning that person, okay? This is only if you're doing this remotely. So again, if like the situation that I was telling you about before, when she wasn't even around and wasn't even on the phone, you can tell the client is listed right here. This is about the client. I set my intention. I used my left hand on it. And I held this up to it, the Healy up to my phone. And I said, with what does Sarah, her name's not Sarah, but with what does Sarah have the greatest resonance right now? With what does Sarah have the greatest resonance right now? And because we've recorded her vibration, it is finding her through that digital signature, and it is analyzing her. And I can't even, I mean, this sounds far out, but once you start doing it, you will see every single time it is spot on, freaky spot on to that person. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for me now. So I'm going to put my finger on and say, with what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? And then it's going to come up and it's going to show me the top 5. Oh, somebody asked. Oh, okay. Someone just asked a great question. You know, where do we hold the Healy with our right hand and touch the fingerprint with our left hand? it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're, I mean, like I said, it could be your elbow. It could, a lot of times I'll use the same hand and just have it together. It doesn't matter. It's all about your intention and your focus during the whole thing. So now you can see what came up. So it's always going to show you the top 5. Because we chose all Healy programs, it is going to give us the top 5 program groups. Now, if that's confusing for you, I would definitely recommend that you print out the program description guide. Now, the wonderful Joe created an even more awesome Healy descriptions programs guide than the teeny one to read that's put out by Healy. So maybe I'm just showing my age, but it's really hard for me to read it. But this one is awesome. It's bigger. It has each program group. It's even color coded by which edition, Healy edition you bought. So for someone who just purchased the gold, for example, they're only going to see the gold programs. So this is showing you right now on the screen the program group. So Healy Protection Programs, that is the group of programs that has in it 8 different programs. It's saying I have a 69% need for that. Now this is Michael Dance's term for it. He calls it your need for this program group. It's basically a match, 66% match from your energy to the frequencies that are within that program group. 66% is pretty high, or excuse me, 69%. Anything over 50 is actually considered quite relevant. So you can see I have a 69 for the Healy Protection. I have a 54 for Healy Job, 54 for Bioenergetic 1, 49 for Pain and Psyche, 44 for Mental Balance. Now, a piece of practical advice. If you're like me, you're going to be like, dude, I asked about pain. I'm going to run down and go do the Pain and Psyche programs, even though it's at 49. I can tell you from personal experience, very rarely is that the program that will address my pain right away. Because I've tried it, and I run it, and I don't sometimes feel better. And I'm like, ugh. And then I'll go back and rescan and be like, oh yeah, maybe I should listen to the Healy, what it was bioenergetically matching me to. And I'll run the top one, and typically by the end of the program, if not way sooner, the pain is either gone or 90% better. So that is one of my tips for tonight, is about, and believe it or not, I am actually talking from the outline. So I am coming back to a lot of these points I want to cover. But that is, oh gosh, now I just lost my train of thought by saying that. It'll come back to me. What was I going to say? It'll come back. Okay, so when you look at these numbers, I am typically going to choose the top one. Now, if they are close, if they are similar, like this one, 69%, that really jumps out at me. If then the next two, 54 and 54, those are still relevant because they're above 50. And sometimes, oh, that's what the point is I was going to make. The names, take them with a grain of salt. Don't take the names literally. Honestly, I kind of wish they had called them 1 through 20, because, or 1 through 120 for the programs, because it's just a container. Each program could have hundreds, literally hundreds of different frequencies within it. So, for example, if I look at the 54% one, the Healy Job programs, if I refer to that chart, I can see that in the job category, there's 7 different programs. Activation, which is about mental clarity. Positive thoughts, about positive thoughts. Balancing your nerves, which is promotion of the beta state. Yes, please, right? Fatigue, energetic reduction of stressors. Exhaustion, systemic. Relieving feelings of exhaustion. Exhaustion acute, which is about stress resistance and extreme stress. I tend to get this one a lot. I have a 4-year-old husband job who's not stressed, right? Even though and so I'm grateful to have the Healy because I run the program and feel a whole lot better. So anyway, a little bit more about me now. that is 54. And then bioenergetic balance 1 is 54. So this is up to you how much you, I mean, if you want to pull out your chart each time and start looking, but really step 2 is to drill down. We're going to take and we're going to rescan using our top matches. Now, if all 3 were the same percentage, trust your intuition. This is a guide. Trust your intuition. Do muscle testing or just see what feels right and which one to run. Some people will, sometimes, depending on the amount of time I have, will rescan and choose each one of these categories and see my top percentage. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to make a little note, or you can take a print screen, however is your system, that we're about to do the protection, the job, and bioenergetic balance 1. I'm going to just focus on those 3 for now. You'll notice at the bottom the actions button. You can click on that. You can generate a PDF. Thank you. You can show the PDF. And what's cool, we'll do that later, but when you generate the PDF of this, you can email it to someone, you can save it to Dropbox, etc. Or you can choose to vibrate here. Now, one question we get a lot is, do you vibrate here or do you go run the program in the pink app? And I don't want you to take my word for it. I'm going to actually show you something that Britt Hanlon, she is a time waiver practitioner. She's been one for many, many years. She's very familiar with the Healy because the Healy's been out in Europe since February of 2019, so a year and a half. They have a lot more experience than we do in the US just since May 1st. There's a great article. It's in the usage guide. It's in Facebook. I have it pasted completely in this usage guide because I think it's that important. And it really covers the difference between vibrating with this blue app and running the program in the pink app. So I think this is a good time to read the difference. And here's what she says. I'm not going to read the whole thing, the highlight. Both of them have their separate benefits. There's no way I could say that one is better because they're so different. So I want y'all to think about, it's kind of like saying, oh, should I do a homeopathic remedy or should I take the herb? Well, they're both great, right? Neither one's better, they're just different. So maybe that'll help you frame this question. If you look at the 2 different types, when we go into the pink app and we use microcurrent, that has the benefits on that ATP production, right? That energy production of the cells. That's what does the protein synthesis. That's what does the increase in the voltage potential across the cell membrane. There's a lot of chemical and biological stuff that the pink app does, okay? And obviously the pink app has all the different frequencies that Nuno Nina developed, etc. This blue app, in contrast, this blue app is a set of intentions, statements, or affirmations that are broadcast into the information field of the client. So she doesn't even call this frequencies. She calls this treatment affirmations, statements, intentions. And I do think that's very helpful. I mean, obviously she says the 2 programs have in common that they're both using the Healy sensor, the quantum sensor that's within here, to connect the body with the information field, but they're very different. So some call this radionics. I've heard that's not a compliant term, so I don't really know if it is compliant or not, but we can call it intentions, statements, affirmations. That's what this app is delivering. So if we wanted to vibrate right now, we could. The feedback I've seen from most people is that at this high level, it's not as helpful to vibrate. It's more helpful to vibrate once you go in and choose an actual program. But that's up to you. You can choose if you want, vibrate it for a minute if you want, and then come back. There is no right or wrong with that. And that is something that I can't say enough. If you leave tonight with nothing else other than knowing, you cannot get this wrong. And actually, you know what? I'm going to come back and talk about that in a second. I'm going to plug in my battery for my laptop. Okay. I'm going to come back to that when we do the next vibration. So for now, we're going to go in and we're going to do our scan number 2. We're going to go in, and so to do scan number 2, you're going to click on the heartbeat down at the bottom, and it takes us back here. We have to start over. Click resonance analysis, Actually, let me go back so you can see that. Click resonance analysis right here. And now we're going to scroll down and we're going to find that client. Now I'm obviously in here at the top. I chose to put a dash by my name because I got really tired of scrolling down to find myself. So, and because I'm holding the Healy, I don't think it's going to get confused by dash Jenn. Just a little tip if you get tired of scrolling through your list. And now we're going to continue with our database selection. I'm trying to clear the circles. How do I clear the circles? There we go. We're going to scroll down and we're going to find that first one. So it was protection. So we're going to go in and we're going to find protection. Really protection. There it is. There's 8 in that category. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Press start analysis. I'm going to hold my Healy. Doesn't matter which hand. I'm going to put my, I typically do my right hand. Oh, with what do I have the most resonance right now with my pain, back pain? With what do I have the most resonance for my back pain? With what do I have the most resonance for my back pain? With what do I have? Okay. Super important to focus, you guys. If I was looking at you, I could be picking up on all of your information fields, etc. If you do these results and it does not seem applicable to you, it's probably because you were entangled and focused on something else. So try again. So you can see now I'm going to get the top 5 programs in this category. As I mentioned, anything above 50 is pretty relevant. So geopathy is at a 50. So I can, if I want to go see a general description, I can go back to that guide. I can look it up and I can see geopathy, energetic reduction of sensitivity to interference fields. Anything, any of the protection programs are kind of like influences from other places. There's like planet protection. There's, you know, there's really cool about like 5G and all that stuff coming out. Protection for electrosmog, right? So not surprising in a way that with all the energy I have going around, I have 3 laptops here, I have people, right, that I'm getting protection. So geopathy is a 50. And I'm going to show you what I would do next is I would go back and again, I would do click on this and I want to rescan for that job category and see if I got something higher than a 50. So I'm going to go back, choose resonance analysis again. See how, and I'm going to go find the new one, Jennifer Boggs. Oh, I forgot to show you how to put a picture in. Sorry about that. We'll do a picture in a second. I'm going to come in here and choose Healy job programs because that was my second highest, remember? And I'm going to start analysis. With what do I have the highest resonance for my back pain? With what do I have the highest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the most resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have? Okay. It doesn't matter what you say, it's about your focus. Okay, clear that. Undo. So 48% exhaustion systemic, 39% extreme stress. None of these over 50. I'm not going to really focus on these. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that third one, which was bioenergetic balance 1. You can see how quickly you can do this once you get used to it, right? We're going slow tonight because we're talking and we're explaining, but look how fast I just did that. I mean, I can do that in my sleep. With what do I have the greatest resonance for my back pain? Oh, I did job again. Silly me. Let's go back and do bioenergetic balance 1. It does bring up a good question though. Sometimes when you run it one after another, yes, you will get a slightly different result. There's a whole talk on that by Michael Dance. It's pretty fascinating. Just the act of reading results changes your information field. Your intention changes your information field. If your intention is to test it and see if it gives you the same thing, that is not a pure intention. You're going to get a different result. So it really is about your sincere intention and the question you're asking. With what do I have the greatest resonance now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now for my back pain? With what do I have? And remember, you can just say, with what do I have the greatest resonance, if you want to let it choose. You don't have to choose a particular topic. Look at there, 59% circulatory system. That makes a lot of sense to me for my back pain. 56% menopause, Also makes sense. I seem to get that right before my cycle every single month. It actually indicates low estrogen, and I know from my fertility journey that I have low estrogen. Eyes 53, I tend to get that after being on the laptop a lot during the day. Immune system 53, cold 52. Perfect example. Look at all these 50s. There is a lot that I have above 50. So we're going to vibrate. So be careful. That's a funny thing to say. Okay. So we're going to go in and now we're going to choose actions. So at this point, I'm going to choose to vibrate this into my information field. What am I vibrating? The affirmations, the intentions, the statements that are around the frequencies in these programs into my information field. So I'm going to choose vibrate. Now you can see right here, select transmission duration. That means how long am I going to vibrate for? If I click the drop down there, then you can see all these beautiful choices. Now these numbers are not random. They were developed by Time Waver over 13 years. The numbers have been found to bring the body most into resonance. How long is the $1 million question? Okay, how long to vibrate? There is a great chart. You can find it in Healy, you can find it on Michael Dance's talk, you can find it in Facebook, and you can find it in the usage guide. There's no shortage of places to find this document. It's called Guideline for Balancing. Okay, do you see this chart? You've probably seen it before. This was put out by Time Waver, by Healy, and it gives you some guidelines. If you don't know how much to vibrate for it, start here. It explains that if this is an acute, there's two categories, acute or chronic. You know if this is an acute or chronic. For me, this back pain right now is acute. I don't have this all the time. This is acute. It's right now, right? Chronic means obviously a long-term health condition. So its recommendation for acute is that you can do it 6 to 8 times a day for 37 seconds. It's 0:37 minutes. So 37 seconds per day. So 6 to 8 times at 37 seconds per day. So I revised this chart because that was so confusing to people. I wrote in those numbers above it that says that equals 3 to 4 minutes a day. Chronic, 2 to 3 times for longer. So this is just a guideline. Why is this here? Okay, well, I relate this to anything. I'm a big essential oil user. People ask me, how much do I use? Well, it's much, think about food. It doesn't matter the topic. It's much more important to do this regularly than it is to do it all of a sudden one time a day. So for example, I'd rather see somebody put an oil on 3 or 4 times a day than to put on 3 drops one time a day. Just like food. Food is something everybody can relate to, right? How many times a day should I eat broccoli, or should I eat a green vegetable? Is it better for me to eat like 3 green vegetables for breakfast and then not touch a green vegetable for the rest of the day? Well, I think we'd all agree it's probably good to have vegetables with each meal, right? Because your body digests them and they're not in your system anymore. You've gotten the use out of them, right? So you want to have it in your body regularly. That is the general concept of this. That's why if it's an acute issue, they want this to be going into your information field several times a day. Because guess what? We're human, we get busy, we forget, we get annoyed. This is an opportunity to return to our energetic balancing. Am I going to do this 6 to 8 times a day? No. Okay. That just is not practical for me right now. Do I do it a few times a day? Yes. So you can tell though, when it says 37 seconds, that's a choice. That does something. Energy works like this, you guys. You do not have to do this forever and ever. It works like that. So if this is chronic, it's saying do 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Again, it doesn't take forever. Now, even Michael Dance, and he has this is his talk from YouTube. So I have the link to it in the usage guide. But someone asked him that on his Q&A. And he says, what happens if you vibrate for longer? Answer, these times come from time waiver. The highest is almost 9 hours. More is not always better. I love this analogy. We want to create an interval, an on and an off. It's like if somebody pinches you. If they're pinching you after some time, right, your pain goes down. Your body kind of recognizes it, lowers the pain level, and the subjective feeling of that pain is decreased, right? But if they pinch you and they stop, and they pinch you and they stop, and they pinch you and they stop, right? Well, then you pay attention each time, right? If they just held this pinch for 8 hours, you stop noticing it after a while. So that's similar, and that's why he says it's kind of like that. This interval on and off is what helps the body, the system energetically to realign. So he does recommend using one of these times, but he says this also. And remember, this is the guy who's worked for Time Waiver since it began, 13 years. He's the head of their sales. He knows what he's talking about. Good friends with the developer, Marcus. If somebody has back pain or large pain, you can choose the 2 hour and 12-second option. You cannot overdose. Let me say that again. You cannot overdose it with your system. Your system just won't go into resonance with the information or the impulse. So, like I said earlier, if you leave tonight with nothing else, you cannot mess this up. You cannot mess this up. If you're doing it too long, your system just kind of ignores it after a while, right? So I will vary this up. People have had amazing results. Actually, I know Lisa, who's probably on this call, I mean, she had shoulder pain and she vibrated for, I think, maybe 12 minutes. Actually, she vibrated for something totally unrelated for 12 minutes. Realized the next day she could raise her shoulder for the first time in years. She didn't even run a pink app program. She only did this for 12 minutes, okay? So if I'm in the middle of doing something, I might run it for 12 minutes. I might run it for 5 minutes and then type some emails and come back and go back and run those other 3 that I just did for 5 minutes. There is no right or wrong. No right or wrong. It's like somebody asking you, again, how much broccoli should I eat? Well, I don't know. Like, how hungry are you? How much do you weigh? Do you want to have 3 pieces of broccoli? 20 pieces of broccoli? There's so many factors, right? Am I going to get benefit from 3? Yes. Am I going to get benefit from 30? Well, maybe I might get a stomach ache. But there's no one right answer. Experiment. Trust your intuition. If you need to know where to start from the beginning, just use the guideline. That's what it's there for. 37 seconds, 2 minutes 49. Okay. So what I would do is I would choose 2 minutes 49, say start, and there we have it. It's running. I'm holding it. You can see that the Bluetooth light is flashing on the Healy because it's in constant communication. That's what the red and the blue lines mean. They mean that one is the Healy app talking to the Healy. The other is the Healy talking back. So this is what is so unique about the Healy. This quantum sensor, you guys, is constantly monitoring. It is not sending me the same thing as it would be sending you if you were vibrating these programs. It is actually going through each of these programs, but it is looking to see what in that program of the hundreds of frequencies that could be in there would bring my body into the most resonance, and it's sending it to me. I mean, that's freaking amazing. There's like nothing else out there that does this. I mean, obviously the Time Waiver, which it was built on, right? So that's what that constant communication is, and that's why you cannot turn this off and start doing email on your phone. This app has to be up and running in order to use it. Has to be up and active in order to use it. Okay, if I were to, let's say, get off of that and come back in, then it'll say error, reading information is impossible, please reconnect. I just say okay. It asks me again, do you want to connect? I'm going to choose the red, the pink, okay, and it's going to reconnect to the Healy. And it's going to continue to send me those vibrations. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this and see if we have any questions, because I just realized, wow, we spent a lot of time on that, but hopefully that was helpful. We actually went into a lot of different questions. That was the bulk of what the questions seemed to be about. We are going to go next and open the pink app. So let me explain two things. I have a tendency when I see this to vibrate first, even if it's only a minute. And then I'm going to choose the top program, which for me was this circulatory system because it was a 59. And I'm going to go into the pink app and I'm going to put on my cables and I'm going to run that program, because that is me getting the microcurrent, which has so many different, like we talked about, benefits that are different, not better, but different than this blue app. So I like to do both. I like to vibrate for a minute or the 1 minute 20 or the 37 seconds. I like to vibrate and then go run the app because that's the type personality I am. You don't have to do that. If you can't put on cables, you've got a kid running around, you're exercising, whatever, just vibrate. There is no wrong answer. They are working differently. Just like homeopathy is not better than herbs. They're just different. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more thing in this app. We will come back and do the aura analysis later, and actually we'll divide it up that way so that if people need to, I know it's late in the Eastern Standard Time, afterwards I'll go in and look at timestamps, and so if people want to go straight to like aura analysis, they can. But for now, if you do go into that home screen, if you click on this home button right here, it takes you right back here. And if you go to lists, you can actually see the previous scans that were done. So if I was like, oh, you know what, actually, I want to go back into that protection programs. You see how I can see right here that was done? I'm going to press that arrow beside it, and I can see that those were the results. And I might choose right now, I'm going to go ahead and vibrate those to me for 1 minute, actually. Boom. And now I'm vibrating that to me as well. No cables are needed. It's all coming from the Casa Red Mira, the quantum sensor, in this amazing device. It's reading me. You want to have it on you, near you, etc. You can clip it on, put it in your pocket, wear it on a chain, whatever you want to do. And so I might choose to do that. But that's what's really cool, is you can always go back into lists and see if you've forgotten anything. Someone asked a great question on either chat or Zoom. Do you record the vibration each time you do a session to get a baseline? So I'm going to go back into those clients because I forgot to show you the picture too. So I'll do that now. So this record vibration, you only do one time. One time. This is recording your digital signature in the field. It's like saying, every time I call you, do I need a new phone number? No. I know your phone number. It doesn't matter if you're in Germany or if you're here. How do you get found? I mean, I'd love one of you to explain this to me, right? I have no clue. How does it find my phone? I don't know. Cell towers? I don't know. And this is a great analogy to the Healy. If people ask you, how does it work? I mean, we don't need to know how it works. I think I'm pretty smart. Every time I listen to Marcus, I'm like, wow, I can't understand half of what you're saying. You are so smart. And I tell people, do you use an iPhone or a Samsung, whatever? Do you know how it works? No. Do you use it every day? Yes. Does it help you? Yes. There you go. Same with the Healy. I don't know all the ins and outs of how it works, but I know it works. It has changed my life. And so that's good enough for me. And there are plenty of science videos. I'm a dork. I'm an industrial engineer by study. I own it. I have watched the science videos. I want to send people to watch them. I have been convinced through hearing all these geniuses talk, but can I regurgitate the specifics? Definitely not. I point people and watch the video. Let someone explain it far smarter than me. So record vibration one time. It will find you based on that vibration. I forgot up here this plus sign by the picture. If you click on that plus sign, it will say, do you want to take a photo or choose from your gallery? So you can do either one. You can take a photo. I can point it at myself. Ooh, that's attractive. Okay, there we go. And boom, it's there. Well, that wasn't very good, was it? Is this right? Okay, there's my photo. Now it's attached. You don't have to have a photo. That's another question we get. Do you, does it use the photo to find you? No. Okay. It's recording your vibration. Now, is the photo helpful to record your vibration if you are remote? Yes. And I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. If you are remote and you're doing it on Zoom, if you can get a photo, do it. Add your photo first, then record vibration. I apologize, I did not do that in the first example. Because I'm right here holding it, I don't have to have the photo, right? And you don't even have to have the photo. It's just all about the more pieces of data we can give it. So I typically will use a photo, even if it's one I snap from my phone from Facebook of them, put it in, and then record the vibration. And again, remember that little check mark, sneaky little check mark. If you don't press it, it doesn't save. So I did save it, but I don't need to do a new analysis, so it left me on the screen. Another great question from one of the chats: do you need electrodes to vibrate? Not for this resonance app. Great to really clarify that. This resonance app does not work on microcurrent. Electrodes mean microcurrent. This is not microcurrent. This is intentions, affirmation statements into your information field. It is all working through this, and it does not need any microcurrent at all. So I think that's all the questions, because my lovely helpers are keeping me up to date. So I think we're going to move on to the next step. And I'm just going to show you, this will not take that long to show you how to actually run the program in the Pink app. And then we're going to come back and do the aura analysis. This is, I think you need a photo for the aura scan. Yes, she's exactly right. When we come back and do the aura analysis, this part right here, you will see the photo in there, but we'll talk about that when we do the aura analysis. So for now, we're going to exit this app. We're going to get into the Pink app. Obviously, we spent almost an hour really deep diving into this. I hope you feel a lot more comfortable with it. It can take me 1 minute to do that whole process. It is super fast once you get used to it, right? To just choose your client, resonance scan, see your top 5, rescan on the top ones, vibrate, done. So the steps much quicker on the analysis, on the usage guide, if that's helpful for you to go as a cheat sheet, and that's what it's intended as a cheat sheet. So we're going to close this app. If you have more questions, definitely write in the chat and they hand it to me. And we're going to quickly show you the Pink app, and we're going to come right back and do the aura analysis. So to close the app, this is very important. The app has to be closed, not minimized, closed when you go from one app to the other. I'm going to say that again. The app has to be closed when you go from the blue app to the Pink app and vice versa, because it has to release that Bluetooth connection. It will not work if you don't close it. So on different iPhones, that's different. If you don't know how to close an app, Google how to close an app, iPhone 8, how to close an app, Samsung Galaxy, etc. I know if you have a little, like a middle button, you double click the middle button and you swipe up, right? If you have this, what is this, the 11? Yeah. Then you go up from the bottom and you can see the apps and you can swipe up. I actually have an LG Phoenix here, and I wanted to show you this because if your phone, this is a medical device, okay, you guys, this is serious. If it's not working on your phone because you have an old phone or you have too much stuff on it, not enough space, that's not Healy's fault. It's like trying to put like AutoCAD engineering software on a 5-year-old Mac and wondering why it doesn't work. It doesn't have the capacity, okay? So I get it, it's frustrating. But are you gonna call AutoCAD and complain? Like they're gonna say, dude, update your operating system, buy a new laptop. So similar to this, if your phone doesn't work, I bought this from Target or Walmart. It was like $39. It's a prepaid phone. This one happens to be the LG Phoenix 4. A lot of them will work. I just don't activate it, right? I don't pay for the monthly fee. I don't have service. And I used it to put my loaner on because I do loan this to someone to use overnight, and then they don't have to download the app. And it works just fine. The one annoying part about it is if you do this, you do get asked every so often, are you ready to activate? And if it happens to ask when you're running a scan, you have to start over. But small price to pay if you need a cheap phone. Or you can go spend $1,000 and buy a new iPhone, but I prefer this one. So on this, I'm just showing you if you have an Android, typically on an Android, if you press that middle button, it will, that little circle, it will it will go back to the home screen. If you press the little rectangle on the bottom right, you can see I left these open on purpose. You can see they're really open. This is not closed, you guys. This is minimized. You got to close it. So the little X in the top right is typically what closes it on an Android. So I'm going to press the little X and boom, it disappears, right? But if I don't press the X and I just press that little circle at the bottom, I don't see it, but it's still open in the background. I know I'm harping on this. It's because it causes a lot of problems. So I want you to know, close the apps. So now we're going to go back in and we're going to open the pink app. So we're going to click on the pink app. Oh, well, this will be good. Let's see if it connects, because I didn't remember to press, but this was already still on, so we're good. It comes up with your notice, microcurrent medical device, how it's been cleared. You say next. And this is a very simple app. This pink app I'm only showing you tonight because it's how we would then go in and run the microcurrents, but we're not going to deep dive into this. But there's not much to deep dive into. You can see all the programs. You scroll down. I made a note that I was going to run circulation, I think, under bioenergetic balance 1. I scroll down to bioenergetic balance 1. Where's my little draw icon? I click that little, sorry, there we go. I click this little arrow, and there's all the programs. And now I choose circulatory system. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to press my finger on that. And now it's going to tell me how long the program runs. It says 55 minutes up at the top. It's going to tell me where to put my electrodes. It tells me electrodes on both hands, daily. Polarity is not relevant. Polarity is not relevant for any programs right now. That just means that's what the plus and the minus on your, that's the polarity of these electrodes. It's not relevant at all right now. No program uses them. So we are going to plug those in. Oh, here they are. I'm still attached. So basically, you can put your electrodes on that section. So put your electrodes on. Now, the ones that come with the Healy are obviously the ones that are recommended. This is what they look like. You can pull them out. They're teeny little circles. You put them on your wrist. Now, from my experience, they don't stay on me very well. I think if you move around at all, they're small. They just don't stay on me very well, okay? So I have gone and bought these bigger ones, as long as they say they're for a TENS unit. Typically they work, but I do have a list on Amazon of ones that we purchased that work. Now, do they say you're not supposed to do this? Yes, they do. They say not to use different electrodes. Oh, I get it. Everybody I know is using different electrodes, but that's up to you. You can make that choice on your own. I put them exactly where it says to. I like these big ones. They stay on a lot better for me. You plug one end of your cables into it. You plug the other end of your cable into the holes on the bottom of your Healy, and you say start. Now I'm going to click on start. Now if you noticed, clicking on start before I'm even done, because I know it takes a while for the program to be transmitted. What it's doing is it's sending the program to your Healy. So the cool thing about this app is that once you are done sending the program, you don't need your phone. Yay! You don't need your phone. So once it's over here, you can use your phone for anything else, or you can leave it and go take a walk. You don't need it. It is transmitting. Some programs take longer than others. It's about the number of frequencies that are in that program. So some of the pain and psyche programs only have one or two frequencies in them. They transmit super fast. So boom, it is transmitting, and as soon as it's done, there you go. You can see that how it is showing down at the bottom, the intensity. And I was just making sure that, yep, for the instructions. Down here, the intensity. Now it defaults to 15%, okay, right here at the bottom. This is kind of like the amount of microcurrent that's getting through the cables. It's kind of like if you had a water, like a hose, it's like how much water is getting through there in a way, the intensity of it. They recommend, with the latest update they did to the software, to move this up to around 35%. This is very dependent on the person. The recommendation by Michael Dance is to, hey, can I ask y'all a question? Can you just come check the messages on my phone and make sure there's nothing I need to really be aware of or answer them? Can you check the messages and the Telegram? And okay. If it closes, okay, thank you. So, okay, see, this phone is not activated. And that's another good point. You do not need Wi-Fi. You do not need internet once you have downloaded the programs. You don't need it. You can use this in the middle of the mountains, okay? You do not need it. The only time you need Wi-Fi or internet is when you are downloading the apps and installing them on your smart device, and when you're syncing. So like with that Blue app, when we were talking about syncing client data, that's when it uses it. Otherwise, you can have it on airplane mode, no Wi-Fi, it just needs Bluetooth on. And if you're having trouble connecting, it needs location services on, because that helps with Bluetooth sometimes. But that is all in a troubleshooting document. If you're having trouble, you want to just walk through the troubleshooting document and we'll just knock it out, get it working. So you can see that I bumped it up to 35. As I was saying, Michael Dance says, you want this to be about where you start to feel tingling. Some people will never feel tingling. Some people feel tingling right away. This is kind of about your sensitivity. And I didn't mention that about the Blue app, but it's very similar. When you're vibrating those from the Blue app, some people feel it. I mean, people who are very intuitive or tuned into energy can totally feel it in different places of their body, tingling. For me, I am not that tuned into energy, unfortunately, yet. I feel kind of like a sense of calmness when I'm running them, but I don't feel the energetic tingles like some people do. In this app, you will probably feel the microcurrent, right? But you may not. And that can change over time. If you don't feel it, you can leave it at 35%. That was their official recommendation. Because, okay, or you can continue to go up until you start to feel a tingling. I can feel a tingling there. I'm going to go back down till I don't feel the tingling. Some people like to feel the tingling, but I have heard from many of the professionals, when your body feels this microcurrent tingling, that it's kind of like going on alert, like, what is that? And you don't really want that alert sensation. So to back it off just before the tingle. Again, you're going to have different, I mean, people have been using bioresonance devices for a long time. Everyone has their opinion on it, and that's fine. I'm just repeating to you what I've heard from these particular people, but trust your intuition. I'm going to go back down. If you're not sure, just leave it on 30, 35. Other practitioners have said you never need to go above that, period. You will notice, do you see how this just went from white to black? This is the other important thing to pay attention to when you're running this app. That is a measure of your conductivity. So the electrical conductivity of the microcurrent. It is actually measuring if this microcurrent is going all the way through your body and coming back, and if there's a complete connection. If it's white, awesome, you have a connection. If it's black, that's saying there's not, it's actually not saying there's not a connection. It's saying it can't detect a connection. And that's an important distinction. It's saying it can't detect a connection. So, a conduction. So if you scroll down a lot of times low, you see how mine went to black? So when you first start out on 15, a lot of times it will be black, especially with the new update they did. If you go back up, then it'll start to turn white again. Now there are quite a few tips in the usage guide on if it stays black, what you can check. The biggest factor is your hydration. Biggest factor, hydration. So drink water. If you're noticing it staying black, literally just sit down and drink a cup of water. And you a lot of times will see it change like this. It's fascinating. The other thing is minerals. So like I put, you need the minerals for your body to conduct the current. So you can choose. I mean, I use Young Living mineral essence. I put it in my water, my Ninja Red. Other people, like this is convenient for the purse. I can't dump this in my purse if I'm out. I'll use the Trace mineral drops. You just want to make sure you have that electrolyte balance. You could do a pinch of sea salt. So just make sure you're hydrated. That's the #1 reason. If you just put on a bunch of lotion, it might not have a good connection. The first step I'll do after I drink a cup of water is I'll do this. You see how I'm kind of like grabbing it? I'm just like pushing it down onto my arm. That typically works. You can use a conductive primer, like a gel primer. They sell them on Amazon. If you have trouble, I don't ever do that. A lot of times too, you can put a squirt of water on them if they're not moist enough. So like I have this up here just because I have leaves in it, so I spray it around. But you could like squirt a little squirt bottle of a little bit of water on it. There you go. We all know that water, you need water to conduct electricity. This is why they tell you to get out of the pool and lightning. But you know, we don't think about it sometimes, right? With this. So the other question we typically get is the wrist straps. So it does come with wrist straps as well. It doesn't matter. You can use the wrist straps, or you can use the cables, excuse me, or you can use the adhesive electrodes. Doesn't matter. People tend to have a preference. I like the electrodes. Other people like the wrist straps. Just put it on. You're going to tighten it up. A lot of times on this, you also need to squirt it with a little bit of water, right? So take your squirt bottle, squirt the inside. If you're not sharing this, you know, a lot of people use some spit. Whatever works for you. Obviously, don't do that if you're sharing. And you just wrap it around. And then in that case, I would simply connect the cable to that instead. It does not matter. They both accomplish the same thing, whichever way works for you. Sometimes on the program, do you remember when it told us to run the program, it told us where to put the electrodes? Obviously, if it said put it on your back, if there's some of the pain ones, you want to put localized pain exactly where the pain is. You can't use you can't use a bracelet, right, on your neck. Doesn't work. Or on your back, I should say. We don't ever put it on our neck, but on your back. So you would use these adhesive electrodes. You can see I'm black. Well, of course I am, because there's no connection. It could not possibly be white. So that's the first thing to check. If it ever is staying black, is that they're tightened in, and there we are. Now you'll notice that at the bottom, this marker came up. That is actually it doesn't come up until a few minutes into the program. It's called a progress indicator. But it's really neat. It's actually saying right now, do you see how up here it's telling you this is the Hertz that's being sent to you right now, 1157. Now it's 0.4. Changes about every 10 seconds or so. This is for that Hertz, how much progress you've made. If it's negative, you still need a lot of it. Once it gets to be higher, like now it's at 44, you'll notice it might go all the way up to 99, but I probably won't see that. It'll probably just jump to the next frequency. You don't have to pay attention to this. This is just me dorking out telling you what the stuff on the screen means, but it's doing its thing. You could walk away, never look at it. You're rocking and rolling. I think somebody asked about, do you have to run it the entire time? Great question. I've heard, is it Michael? Somebody say, that was one of the people I tend to trust, that I think it was Michael Dance, that within the first 20 minutes, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. Because this is the big point about the quantum sensor. So listen up, this is what the Healy does that others don't do. This is not just sending you these frequencies. If this was a Rife, and nothing against Rife, Rife is an amazing machine. Rifes, you choose the frequency, they send it to your body. Wonderful. With this is sending it to you, and there's constant feedback. So right now it's at 1157. It just jumped back to 0.4. Why? Because I need that. It's actually reading me constantly from this quantum sensor, and it is a two-way communication about the two-way communication to know what you need next. So that is amazing. Both the apps have this quantum sensor going on. If you and I both ran the circulatory system, we'd end up with different frequencies being received. There's hundreds in that program. It is just sending us exactly what our body needs, and it's real time. So if you get 20 minutes of that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. You've made a lot of improvement. If you have to stop and go about your day, stop and go about your day. Again, relate this to broccoli. Like, okay, it's better to have 3 pieces of broccoli than no pieces of broccoli, right? It's better to have broccoli than cake. Yay, you did yourself a favor. You ran, you got some energy. This is awesome. So just do what you can do. 20 minutes, you're accomplishing a lot. Obviously, if I can let it run the whole time, I will. And you can see this number just went from 44 to 43. This is telling me how many minutes are left. So I'm going to show you now, if I wanted to walk away from my phone, or for example, at night when I go to sleep, I will scan and I will do the resonance and say, choose all sleep programs, and say, with what do I have the greatest resonance for sleep? And it will come back and tell me which one of the sleep programs, right? And so I will then go into the Pink app and I will run that program. And I will put this under my pillow. Now, the official word from Healy is that you have to have the cables connected to run the Pink app. Say that again. Official word from Healy, you have to have the cables connected to run the Pink app. Because they have not done all their testing without it. But I know personally, and I know a ton of people personally who are getting huge benefits, like me at night, with my husband at night, with sleep, with anything, to just run this program. There's still frequencies coming out of this quantum sensor, even without the electrodes. I'll put it under my pillow, and then I will swipe up and I will close this app. It is still running. It is still running, this program. It's just the Bluetooth stopped because I don't have a connection anymore with my phone. So, but it's still got the green light flashing. There's just no Bluetooth flashing. If I wanted to check on my status, I would go back into my phone, reopen the Pink app, Press next, and it is going to go back to whatever program I was running. You see how it went right back there? And then I could press next, and it picks me right back up and shows me where I was. So that's pretty cool. If you walk away from your phone and it gets out of Bluetooth range, I'm trying to remember because I don't ever do that, but I've been testing that lately, and I want to say it stopped the program. And I had, if you actually press in the screen, do you see how it paused it? And now if you were to press anywhere else in the screen, anywhere else, if you press, it'll restart it, okay? But if I press the screen again, that X comes up. If I press that X up here, it asks me if I want to close the program. So that's how you would stop a program. If you close the app, it doesn't stop the program. If you want to close the program, press that X right up here. And I'm going to say no, I didn't mean to do that. And then it keeps running. So if you accidentally press the power button on, do you notice how it just stopped? I've caught myself doing this a bunch. I don't realize it, and I push that power button on my Healy, and then I go back to my phone a while later, and I'm like, why is it still on 41 minutes? I paused it. That will pause it. And unfortunately, once you pause it, you can't keep pressing it and it starts back. You have to go back to the app, and you have to restart it. So if you've closed the app and you accidentally stop it, you're going to have to reopen the app and restart it. Stuck on 51 minutes, so I do to help it. Oh, okay, Kristen asked. Yeah, I hopefully that answered your question, Kristen, about it stuck on 51 minutes. If that didn't answer it, then maybe re-explain it in the chat a little bit better, so I can understand exactly what you mean about stuck. Maybe even put a print screen on there or something. But I'm guessing that's what it is. You just have to press in the middle of the app. Are there any, okay, so what else about the pink app? So we can go back and do an OR scan. Let me show you something. Let's see, what else about that? I mean, once you're in a program in here, I'm gonna stop this program. Okay, you can go left and right to scroll through them at the bottom, or you can go back up to the top and scroll through them that way. It accomplishes the same thing. Once you're in it, you can scroll right and left to go through them to the end. Settings is down here at the bottom. If you press settings, that's where you can go to connect to another Healy, if you wanted to connect it to a second Healy, or if you wanted to check for updates. When you connect to another Healy, if it has not been connected to, sometimes it will make your whole screen go blue on this program, and you just have to go in and check for updates. Anything weird, check for updates first. If you want to, I have my sound turned off. I know a lot of people like the dance that you can do at the end when your program finishes. It scares me to death every time. So I turned off my sound because it wasn't worth the panic. I was like, what is that? You can turn on and off your notifications. I don't want more notifications that I don't already get. I disabled mine. But so if it's like constantly giving you updates and you're like, stop, just go in here and it would say disable notifications. You can obviously choose your language. If somehow it winds up in a different language, this is where you would come in to change it. And then also up here, information, if you click on that information at the bottom, it just shows you your Healy serial number, a bunch of other cool things. Hey, the manual is right in here. I know, you're like, I don't need to read the manual. There's actually a ton of good info in there. You can get to it right here. Click on manual, it comes up. How cool is that? Same thing with instructions for use. That's that little pamphlet that came with your, that came in the box. That's the instructions for use. You can get to it right here. You can get to the Healy website. Oh yeah, you can read about their data protection right here. their contact information, which that's not the way to get customer support. Don't even try. You need to go do a ticket in your back office if you want customer support. And then you can see your serial number, etc. So your therapist programs, if you do want to have a session with a time waiver practitioner, they can actually make you a custom program, and they can send it to your Healy. Kind of cool. Basically, they can only send you programs that are in your Healy, but it's kind of like if you wanted to have like one program that was delivering certain frequencies for a particular disease or something that you had. We cannot treat, cure, okay, we can't do any of that stuff with disease because of, we can't say that, compliance, etc. So I should have said issue. If you have a certain issue, they could do a custom program for you and it would show up under your therapist programs. There's your overview. You can also see the battery right up here. See this battery, 96%? That battery indicator is how you can tell the battery charge of your Healy. That is not the actual battery of your Healy. Let's say that again. It's not actually measuring the battery of your Healy. There is a logic circuit that can be retrained that is figuring out the battery of your Healy. You have to train it. You're not actually training the battery. You're training the logic circuit that shows you this percentage. So if you're saying, my Healy dies every time on 40% or on 24%, do a reset of your Healy. To reset your Healy, you hold down the power button for 10 to 20 seconds until you get a flat, solid light. Then you let go. And when you do that, it solves a lot of problems. So if you do have a problem, that's a great troubleshooting tip. But it also resets this battery indicator. So what that means is at that point, you're going to want to drain. As soon as you reset it, you're going to want to fully charge all the way up, fully charge until that green light goes off. So you know it's fully charged. Then you're going to drain your Healy by using it all the way until it dies. That teaches the Healy logic circuit, oh, that's when I died. That's 0%. If you every time charge it when it gets to like 30%, the logic circuit thinks, oh, 30% means I'm dead. And so it will start dying at that, okay? So I know it's kind of confusing. If it's confusing, look at the troubleshooting document. All you need to know is if your battery indicator is driving you crazy because it's not right, reset your Healy and then retrain it. Charge it to 100, drain it till it dies. Charge it to 100, drain it till it dies. Charge it to 100, drain it till it dies. 3 times, you're good to go. It will now be accurate. If you reset your Healy for troubleshooting reasons, you're gonna have to do it again. There's no data in your Healy. Resetting your Healy does not lose any data. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Wow. It's a lot of material, isn't it? I am impressed for everybody sticking in there. Hopefully, well, there's always different ways to do training. If you wanted the quick and dirty, you can read the usage guide. But hopefully all these tips are helpful, and hopefully you leave feeling really comfortable using your Healy. Now, as you are doing that matchup and you see the program name in your blue app, and then you're going to go to the pink app to open it, one of the categories, the pain category, the names that show up in your pink app are the Roman numerals of 1 through 8. So when you need to do that conversion of what name it showed you in the blue app to the Roman numerals in the pink app, there's a great picture that's floating around, and it's in the Facebook group. It's also in this usage guide that converts for you that, oh, okay, chronic pain is what the Roman numeral 1 means. And that way you can know which program to run. And those descriptions are not necessarily the same descriptions that are in the program descriptions, the USA version that we had talked about, and it's because of compliance. That just happens, these names that are on this sheet of paper are what's really showing up in your app, even though they're not the US compliant names. Hope that makes sense. So we're going to show you the aura scan and try and wrap this up and be a 2-hour training. And then I think at some point, if you want a short training and that has just super quick topics and none of the other information, we can do one of those too if you think that's helpful for your friends, etc. I'm always open to feedback. It's a simple device, but there's it's so powerful, right? So powerful that there's lots of intricacies to learn. You don't have to know all these, right? It can be super simple just to scan, run. If you wanted someone, you could show them how to do this pretty quickly, just doing the steps and not explaining all of this other stuff if you don't want to understand it. So we're going to close this app. You notice how I closed it. I didn't minimize it. And we're going to go back and we're going to open up the blue app. Now, always remember, press on your Healy start button to turn it on, then open the app. If you don't do that, and when you get here, it says connecting, you can either wait patiently. I was not given the patience gene, so I just close and restart. I close, I press my Healy, I reopen. That applies to both apps. I am not a patience person. If you are, wait. If not, just swipe up and close it. Start over. Turn on your Healy, open your app. Okay, so we're gonna go show you, I'm gonna make a note that it's what time it is so that we can tell people when the aura scan started. So we're gonna go back into our heartbeat at the bottom, and we're gonna do an aura scan. So we're gonna go and choose this aura analysis right here. You could add a new client, but because I'm already in there, I'm going to scroll down to myself as the client, the new one that I just entered. And I'm going to press record aura. Now, I'm going to hold this in one hand. I don't need the cords connected anymore. I'm going to take those off so you don't see them. I'm going to press record aura, and it's doing it. As you noticed, I was very focused. I have had a bunch of people in a room, and when they did the record aura and started reading the results, it did not make any sense. And it was because there was so many people around, so much energy, right? And they were not very focused. I had them leave and go into another room and redo it, and all of a sudden they were like, every single one of these makes sense. So this is an energy device. It's picking up on your intention and your focus. This is the point of the photo, so you can see the aura scan. If someone does not want their photo, it's fine. I have heard them say this. Take a picture of the desk. You have to have a photo, but it's just to show you this. And it can be a desk, okay? And then it will show the picture like this. If that person was remote, same exact thing. When they do record aura, have them put their hand up to the camera, visualize their aura is being recorded, and I am at the same time trying to stay out of it. In my mind, I'm setting the intention, it's recording their aura, okay? So at this point, you have a choice. There are 3 reports you can get from this app. One of them was from the resonance. This aura, there's 2 reports. Right now, up here, do you see this button? You will never get to do this report again, ever, ever, ever. This is your only opportunity. You can't even go back on a list and do this, ever. This is it, this button. If you press it, okay, it's gonna download a report, and it is gonna show you the next screen. I agree, it's a little counterintuitive why you have to press the button before you've seen the next thing, but that's the way they developed it. It shows up on your screen. There's a teeny little, faint little arrow right here. It's hard to see, right there. If you click on it, it will go down to the next page, and look, there is the aura analysis of showing the chakra analysis, okay? People don't even realize this report's there because they don't know to click on it where we clicked on it. But now it's here, and it's gonna show them the same it's going to show them information on 3 chakras, the most prominent chakras. These 3 are the same that it's going to show in the interpretation. I'll show you that in a second. You can read about these 3 down here. This is generic information about those 3 chakras. It is not particular to the client. It is generic information about those chakras indicating the high and the low. The 3 most prominent chakras means the most prominent. That means if you have 3 that are super high, it's going to show you those. If you have 3 that are super low, it's going to show you those. If you have 2 high and 1 really low, it's going to show you those. Most prominent. Right here, you can go up and click this button on the top right, and you can email that to somebody. It's going to generate the PDF. It takes it a while, be patient. It's going to create a PDF. You can then email that to somebody. You see the choices. If you don't have email set up on your device, it won't show up. You can airdrop it. If you had Dropbox set up, oh, there it is, copy to Dropbox. If for some reason it's not letting you email, just click copy right here. That like puts it in the memory of the phone. And when you go to your email, you can hit paste and it puts the PDF in there. If these are not running, it's probably not Healy's fault. If you can't generate a PDF, it's probably because your device does not have the power, the memory, the space, the processing power to do it. It's a memory hog. So that's probably what it is. Try it on a different device or free up space, etc. So I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to use the little X up here to get out of here. And right at this point, now I can click on interpretation or analysis. If I click on interpretation, it's going to show me the exact same 3 chakras, the 3 most prominent ones that were in that report. So I can see my heart chakra is really low right now, 63. And I can read all about the heart chakra in general. And I can click more if I want to read even more. I mean, this is so cool. It really is fascinating to read. It's up to you if you want to spend the time to read it each time or not. And then you'll see it showed me the solar plexus because that was really high, 94. And it showed me the root chakra because that was high, 94. So those are my 3 most prominent. I cannot print from here. If I wanted this printed, remember, I had to do it a step behind. So now I'm going to press the X, and I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to press analysis. It's going to show me that same chart that showed up in the previous report. So you can see, this is why it chose to show me the heart chakra because it was my really low, right? And it showed me the solar plexus. I'm assuming it showed me the root. I don't even remember now, but it should have shown me the 3 most prominent when I did the interpretation. But when I choose to do the analysis, at this point, it's going to do the analysis on the 3 lowest because I want to see why those 3 are low, and I want to send myself some vibrations to improve that energy. If I want to, I can choose to have it show other ones. You just click and unclick. If you're like, I don't care about my heart chakra, I don't want to know more about that, unclick it. It just defaults to 3. This total energy is not an average. It's more like the total energy distribution in your body. Okay, so, and this is a snapshot of right now. Okay, don't look at this and be like, I have been doing spiritual work for 5 years. How in the world is my heart chakra low? Okay, it just means right now. It just means right now. It's great to look at tendencies over time. Yes, but don't give yourself a hard time if right now it's low, okay? We all go through these ups and downs. So press start analysis. And now we're going to focus on my aura is strong and stable. We're going to be thinking about that as we press start analysis. It's going to take those 3 chakras or however many we selected, and it's going to go match it up with the database, amazing Healy database, and come back and tell us what's wrong with us. No, not really. It's going to come back and tell us which issues we're experiencing in that chakra. So this include negative relevancies? I leave it off for people in the beginning. A negative relevancy means it's not at the conscious level yet, okay? So that can be kind of confusing for people who are new to Healy, because they're like, I don't resonate with that. That description doesn't mean anything. Yeah, because it's at not a conscious level, right? It's still a little below conscious. So if you've been doing spirit, work for a while and you want to read them, pretty interesting. Otherwise, don't press that button to turn it on. Press start analysis, and I'm going to focus. My aura is strong and stable. 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 Okay. Now it's going to come back and it's going to show me so many cool things. Yes, it will be available for replay. Go to sleep. If you're like, dude, I can't listen to anybody talk for this long. I don't even want to hear myself talk anymore. Go to sleep. You can listen to this tomorrow, another day, in a week. You can finish this later. No worries at all. Didn't realize it would take this long to go through everything, but it did. Okay, so, and if y'all need to go to sleep, it's okay too. So I'm a night owl. Okay, so right now it's going to show me all these different issues. These are what I am an energetic match with right now. So I'm going to take the first one and we're going to go through it. So this one, we're going to look at the top numbers. Now there is a great description of this in the Facebook groups, or ding, 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 usage guide. Either way, same thing. That basically describes what each of these numbers mean. You don't have to memorize this, and I haven't memorized it, but this number up here, the 85%, means I have an 85% relevancy. That is kind of like the active importance or need for me to deal with this issue. Okay? So this is because this is a positive number, it's a positive relevancy. It's conscious, right? It's active, it's in the foreground. If this had a negative 85, that means it's like in the background, more passive. Maybe I'm not consciously aware of it. Maybe it's like a chronic thing. Okay. 85 is pretty high. I have a pretty high relevance to this. Then the 3. So this number, it goes from 1 to 10, and this is the intensity. This is like how much it's impacting me now and how much work I've done on it. So if this was a 10, it means I have not done a lot of work on this. I have a lot more work to do, internal work to do for this issue. 3 means, hey, I've done a lot of work around this, right? I've done a lot of internal work. There's just a little bit of this remaining. Then the next one is this LMC. Now this is all about homeopathic dosage, potency. There's a great chart in here that describes it. So it says that LM, so D, if you know homeopathy, this will mean something to you. If not, it goes in order of D, C, LM. D means it's very dense. It's like the physical issue. It's in your body, right? It's like, this is a deep issue. It's so deep, it's gotten to the physical level. C means it's more emotional, maybe mental. LM means it's more mental or spiritual. So, and then there's the numbers after it, which are like LMC, and those numbers, I'm not going to go through this chart because I find it confusing. I have to look at it every time and be like, what does this mean? So quite frankly, a lot of times I don't spend the time. If you just wanted to read through this quickly, you could then choose to go at the bottom and say, vibrate, and you'd be done. So there's the long story short. Read your issues, think about them a little bit. They say that even the awareness of these issues creates the change, right? We all know this. Awareness is the first step in change. And then vibrate again. Again, there's no right answer. You can use the same chart. You can vibrate it for as long as you feel like. You don't know? Use the chart. You think this is chronic or acute. If you want to do it longer, do it longer. Longer is not always better. So, use the guideline if you're not sure in the beginning. And then you would just hit start, and that's it. So there's your overview. Super simple of that. If you want to go back and actually understand this a little bit more, right, then you can go back and you can take the time to read through each of these. So this, for example, this first issue says I have an 85% match with my energy to whatever is going on right here. So this, clear, okay. The present, so this is about my sacral chakra, okay? And so if you're not familiar with your chakras, I'd recommend like printing out kind of a chakra chart. My sacral chakra is my second chakra, right? That's about your creativity, your sexuality, intimacy, etc. So it's supposed to be orange, but the present state being violet means violet is the color associated with your top chakra, right? Your crown chakra. So it means interpret this from a crown chakra sort of perspective. So we're going to read the present state. This person tries to live their sexuality through personal experience. They are lacking awareness. Or the woman is living a masculine sexuality. She has lost contact towards her expression of her feminine eroticism. Well, let's just dive deep into Jenn here. Okay. So the desired state is going to tell you what is going to be vibrated to you. And they're very generic, complete and gentle healing around, blah, blah, blah. So when you are reading this present state, it may, I mean, typically they resonate for me. I do think I have more of a masculine energy, right? But when you look at this, you can get really deep into this. When you look at this, this is saying this, I need to interpret this from more of a crown chakra perspective. My crown chakra is more about my connection to the divine. So this is saying interpret this from more of a that sort of perspective, is that am I almost having more of a masculine relationship with divinity? Am I not letting some of the feminine aspects of divinity come through in me? So you can really sit with this. And I find this very powerful because then once we vibrate, we're actually vibrating this desired state into our information field. Now, this is not doing the internal work for us. Okay, it's not doing all the internal work for us, but it is opening us up. It is kind of clearing the energetic pathway for that work to happen. It really is opening us up to higher insights and intuitions that might come, opening us up to be able to make these shifts and these changes. But ultimately, we can't hack our way around our issues, okay? We can't biohack around our issues. There's still inner work to be done. So at this point, you can go down, you can, I forgot, I wanted to show you this actions. You can show this PDF right here. Let me hit cancel. If you click on actions right here, then your two choices are show PDF and add manually. If you show the PDF, you're going to be able to email all this information as a PDF, just like we did before. That's the other report. We're going to talk about add manually later because it's gotten super long. If you want to add manually, basically that right there is your ability to do something super cool, like add in something like an essential oil or a bottle of any sort of remedy, right? Like all kinds of stuff. You can add them in and click add manually, and you get to enter, and this is so cool, experiment with this later. You enter in your desired state. I did this earlier, but like you could just pick, okay, transformation. If I wanted to put this oil in, I could say desired state, I am transforming my life very easily. Similar for the desired state subscription. I don't even have to worry about present state. I always want it to be 100% relevant. I have heard you want the intensity to be a 10 because you want to be doing a lot of there's a lot to be done here. And then the potency you choose based on if you think this is more of a physical, spiritual, emotional, mental issue. And then you say, add symbol. It's that easy. And when you click on add symbol, you get to record the vibration. So it's so cool. You just hit record vibration. You place your Healy. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to place it on my table like that with the oil, and I'm going to say record, and boom, it recorded the vibration. How cool is that? And then I'm going to say add image, take a photo. I'm gonna take a photo so that I can remember. I'm gonna press this, it's a little confusing up here, this X button. And then that's it, boom. Now that's in there. You press this, it's the only thing you can press on the screen. But it put it in there. Where did it put it? Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh, you know what it was? My bad. You have to put something in each of those fields. And when you did put each of those in the fields, that plus would have shown up, check mark. And the check mark, then it would have shown up right here. And so you'd be vibrating that to you while you're vibrating the other stuff. Isn't that the neatest thing? I love that. So you can do that with anything. Okay, so anyway, you can continue to scroll down. You can read all the different things about yourself. This one's related to my heart chakra. And it has a 79% relevancy. Those are pretty high. You're never going to see 100. This is like, this relevancy means this issue, there was like a 79% match. It's like 79% relevant and important for me to deal with this issue. The person begins to be less and less critical of themselves and others. They are learning increasingly to accept themselves as they are. I resonate with that, especially doing a talk, because all of my brain is saying is, this is too long. You should have left stuff out. Why did you try and cover this much? Oh my gosh, next time you've got to do this shorter, right? So it's super critical. Not surprising, this is coming up, but I have done a lot of work around it. Yay. So I still remind myself, it's okay. They would have gotten off of the call if they were not interested anymore, right? This is like, anybody have that? So thank you, Healy, because now I can vibrate and be like, ah. And I can feel the calmness wash over me when I do this chakra vibration. Other people can actually feel as it's going through, like they're like, I feel it in my heart, feel it in my crown. I'm like, that's so cool. Anyway, so there you have it. You can also choose to delete one, like pressing that little X. If you're like, yeah, I don't want any of that. I don't need any of that. I'm gonna hit the X. I'm gonna delete that. I'm not gonna do that. Of course I want that, but you could. Throat chakra, again, you know, you just can scroll down, right, and see all the different ones. I think we've had enough psychoanalysis of Jennifer today, starting with my crown chakra sexuality. So we're going to move on. But anyway, at this point, boom, vibrate. I'm going to send myself some of this while we're talking. And what else? Let's see. I'm going to hit start. And look at there. Again, constant red, blue. This resonance app requires Bluetooth. Can't walk away. And requires the app. So, wow. I've been talking for 2 hours. I have. So let me look at my notes. I think we're going to wrap it up. And let's see. I talked about, oh, I'm going to show you one more thing. But let me look at my notes before I do that. Troubleshooting document. If things are weird, just remember, close the app. Just close the app and start over. This is like in the old iPhone days. Start over. It's anything tech. What do you do when your TV stops working? You turn it off. You turn it back on. You know, turn it off, turn it on. The troubleshooting document walks you through step by step. If you have weird things, most of the time you don't need a ticket. Most of the time we can address it. If you need help, reach out on the Facebook groups, Telegram, whatever it is. This walks you through all the different issues. If you want to know step by step how to put your Healy on a second, if you want both you and your spouse to use the same Healy, you want to know how to do that. It involves the master key. You need the same master key on both devices. Read the troubleshooting document. It explains it super clearly how to do it. I'll stay up and talk to y'all till midnight if you want, but I think you'd probably rather watch the document, read the troubleshooting document at this point. And wow, I think the only other thing I didn't show you, which we did kind of talk about, but I want to just pull it up one more time in the Blue app. Where will the replay be? Great question. It is currently being streamed live in the customers group. If you're a member of that, if you're not a member of that, I think I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I will put the YouTube in our private Telegram thread. And I will also post it in our customers Facebook group so that if you have somebody who's not on Facebook, they can get access to it. The last thing I'm going to show you is on this resonance app, when you go do a scan, when we went into the resonance analysis, I briefly mentioned all these other databases. Take the time to run them. They are so cool. All the Healy programs, that has to do with the Nuna cycles, etc. Bach flower remedies, oh my gosh, talk about the emotional stuff that comes up on this is, to me, almost, I think it's as powerful as the aura analysis. And it's fascinating because the same things come up over and over, and I'm like, I get the message, okay? And so it's kind of cool because it helps you meditate on them, do affirmations on them, and then it's also sending you those vibrations. So you just choose that category, you choose start analysis. Same thing. With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? With what do I have the greatest resonance right now? I have to say it over and over, because if not, I start thinking about 20 other things. If you don't, great. I'm not going to show you all these because this is like you reading my diary. But the first one, it's like the burden of sadness and melancholy is balanced. The joy of life and cheerfulness is strengthened even on difficult days. No one would look at me and say, oh, she's like one of the jumping off the walls type person ever. Yeah, that's not me, right? So that sort of like joy piece, I'm like, yes, I want more joy in my life. Joy. Like, I'm happy, but joyful. I want joy. So I love this because it comes up and I get to vibrate that to myself. And it's so amazingly powerful. So I'm not going to show you the rest because seriously, it's like reading my diary. But if you go in and you choose, several of them also are like that emotional, the Australian bush flowers, the amino acids is amazing. It's not just amino acids, actually. I'm trying to remember what he likes to call that one. Vital substances is what he wishes they had called it. Materia medica is like digital homeopathy. Alaskan gem elixir, Schussler salts, I Ching, and then that's it. So for now, but more are coming. If you haven't listened to the latest Marcus talk, you should, because all kinds of cool stuff is coming. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So, and be aware as you start using it. Some people see immediate effects. They can feel it within seconds, within minutes. Other people within an hour. But other people, it might be more subtle. And be aware that the change you're experiencing might not be what you're looking for. So as you detox, as your energy shifts, you might notice other things. Maybe allergies are less. Maybe you're getting more congested because these toxins are leaving your body. Are you sleeping differently? Do you have more energy? Is your skin clearing up? Or maybe your skin's breaking out, because that's one sign, right, that toxins are being released. You might run a program for one thing, but notice other areas of your life start improving, because energy that shift, right, is throughout your whole body. And that is the beauty of the resonance, is that or not even just the resonance, even if you don't have the resonance of all the pink apps, since even then there's that quantum sensor, that information exchange, that matchup between what's best for your body. So your body might, if you have certain type of pain you're trying to reduce or eliminate, your body might have to deal with other things first before it can get to that. It might be more pressing. There might be an underlying matter that's resulting as the manifestation, right, is pain. So give it some time, and you might notice, but I didn't run a program for that. Well, you think you didn't, but your body, you run one program group, but remember that one name encompasses many, many different frequencies. So your body's going to choose, and there's overlapping frequencies, right, within programs. So just because you won the program for tooth and jaw, that is going to have some of the similar frequencies as other programs, and your body's still going to get those, and that is going to address other issues in your body. So yes, it's a systemic, basically, a systemic energy shift, and just be aware of everything that's shifting. 2 hours. We did it. Nice job. Hopefully you feel comfortable with your resonance and your pink out. And I am going to stop the recording, and I might stay live on Facebook and just see if anybody has any questions that they want to ask before we shut it down. I think probably at this point you just want to know what drug are you on to continue talking, but I ran the programs before I talked. So that's my drug of choice. Oh, I can't call it a drug. See, it's getting too late. I'm not being compliant. Okay. Thank y'all for attending. I hope that was helpful. If we left something out, post it in the Facebook group. We'll get it answered. If you have topics for a future one or suggestions, or like, hey, can you, maybe we'll actually even cut this down to like just the aura and have one video on that so that you can show it to people if you wanted to, who don't have you guys' amazing attention spans. So proud of y'all. Okay. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. And I will also post with the replay the links that I mentioned to the troubleshooting document and to the usage guide. If I forgot anything, I'm sure you will remind me. The program descriptions, right? That's super cool program descriptions. I think I'm going to post that chakra chart so you can get access to it. And just remember, you can't mess it up. You can't go wrong. You don't have to remember all this at all. Just be like, somebody told me that one time, it sounded smart. I'm just going to do this super simple. I'm going to run the program. I'm going to vibrate. That's good enough. You don't have to remember all this. Make it simple. Keep it simple so you'll use it. It will not work if it's sitting on your bookshelf. Use it. If you only have 3 minutes, use it. I use mine several times a day. I mean, oh my gosh, I'll run. They say to run 3 to 5, I think max 3 to 5 programs a day in the beginning. From the pink app. That's a recommendation. You do with it what you want. I've known people who've started out using like 6 programs a day, and the amount of changes she's had in her body is unbelievable. I mean, lifelong challenges with thyroid that are gone, insane, in like 2 to 3 months. But that said, it's better to start slow, let your body assimilate the new energies. You know, I run programs throughout the whole day, but you can also just run them when you have time, the morning, the night, whatever works for you. Eat your broccoli 1 time a day, 5 times a day. Whatever you can do, start somewhere. Better than nothing. And this is a whole lot. This energy, it does not take long. You will start to see your shifts. I know you will. It's amazing. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Have a great night. Goodbye.